Okay, it should be good. Okay, so like I was saying before, it's you want the couple sitting across from you, preferably wall, not the TV, right? Because you want to minimize distractions. Trainee's job is to make sure that the appointment goes smooth. So the trainee, if they're, like Gina has kids, if the kids start coming up, it's his job to keep them occupied so I can continue the presentation. Does that make sense? His job is also to help clean the table we're sitting at and make sure any TV or any other distractions are off. Okay? And he knows as well, right? Okay, so when you're in your KTP, you're making sure that you're asking questions. Okay? Because your KTP, your presentation should be full of questions, not statements. Because all the questions you ask will be your ammunition or your tools in your tool belt for when you go close the app. Does that make sense? Okay? So especially when you're sitting down with a couple, especially if they're married or they've been together for a while, like Rich Solly likes to get to know them first before really getting into, okay, where you guys got all your money. Does that make sense? Okay, so Gina, Justin, tell me a little bit about how you guys are together. How long have you guys been together now? Or originally, how did you guys meet?
Go ahead.
You can be truthful, it's okay.
It doesn't have to be makeup.
We went to the same high school. We never really met each other, and then we started talking online, and then had our first date that way.
Okay, so you got reconnected through social media.
Yes.
Isn't it crazy how people reconnect through social media nowadays? Right, whether it's probably Facebook or Instagram. Facebook. Oh, I was almost going to say Snapchat, one of those. I'm just kidding. Okay, and then so Gina, tell me about yourself. What do you do for work right now?
Caregiving and med tech.
Okay, how long you been doing that for?
7 years.
7 years. How'd you get into that industry? How'd you get into the healthcare industry?
I went to college to become an LVN, and I couldn't get a job as an LVN, so I just settled in.
Kind of settled?
Yeah.
Okay, what was the ultimate goal to be in the healthcare field? Did you want to be a registered nurse eventually?
I wanted to become a doctor.
Okay. Why a doctor though?
I just love helping people, and I love anatomy.
Okay, that's good. And then you also, from what Anthony was telling me, you have children as well, right? How many children do you have?
3.
3 of them. How old are all each of them?
5, 3, and 2.
What are their names, by the way? So these are times where you have an actual yellow notepad and you're taking down notes too at the same time, right? Okay. And so what grade are each of your kids in?
Well, their ages 5, 3, and 2, so.
So only one's in kindergarten now. Close to first grade? Are they going to be going to first grade this year?
My oldest one is going to be 5 tomorrow.
Okay, so she'll just be getting into kindergarten. Okay, that's awesome. Okay. What are some of the things that you like about your current career right now?
I like helping people, but the pay isn't great.
Okay, so if you could change anything, it'd be the pay.
Yes.
You'd like to make more money.
Yes.
Okay, who wouldn't want to make more money, right?
Right.
Okay. So, and then Justin, tell me about yourself. What do you do for work?
I work in construction, installing granite countertops, and then I also teach martial arts at night.
Okay, how'd you get into martial arts?
I've always wanted to do it since I was young. Parents kind of like, they tried to get me into it, and no places seemed really appropriate. And then finally when I was 18, I was venturing out on my own and found a place and been doing it ever since.
Okay, so you have a coach or a mentor that's taught you everything.
Yeah.
Okay, what color belt do you own right now? Or what belt have you earned?
Right now, brown, but as a teacher and an instructor, it's red.
Okay.
Yes.
What's the difference between red and brown?
Brown is the significant of the rank of what you've learned through. Red just signifies that you know how to teach.
Okay. Okay, good deal. And so tell me about what you like about your current jobs right now, your two current careers.
I like that, well, for the construction job, I like that it's a family business and I'm able to be a little bit more flexible compared to other jobs.
Okay.
And then for teaching, it's the students.
Okay.
Being able to see them grow helps me grow as well.
What are some of the things you'd like to change?
Have more time.
Okay, so very similar. Want more control of your time. Would you like to make more money at the same time if you could?
Absolutely.
Okay, then those will probably be some of the things we do talk about. So what exactly has Anthony told you about what he's doing now?
So before we get started, I want to thank Matt Shane, first of all, for being here to see you guys. But you know, Matt Shane, I know Matt Shane for about 17 years. He's been training me and coaching me about the business and stuff like that. But you know, he's the guy who's been training a lot of agents here in Southern California. Been training people from Riverside, Temecula, you name it. He's been almost everywhere. Go-to guy. He's really knowledgeable, so I trust and respect this gentleman, and I consider him as one of my business mentors. So any questions you have, you know, feel free. He'll have the right information for you guys to give to you.
Okay. And you know, I want to thank you guys for taking time out of your schedule to help Anthony with his training. And like I said before, this is more for his training, so any questions you guys may have, please do ask them, right? The only stupid question is one that isn't asked. Wouldn't you guys agree?
Yeah.
Right? And so a little bit about my background and how I got into World Financial Group is I did everything society tells us to do, right? You guys have heard the saying, go to school, get a degree, find a good job, work in a company for, you know, 20, 30 years, get a company watch, and then you should retire with a golden parachute. I mean, how many people do you know that's really worked out for? Not very many. I only know like 2 people, right? And that whole story that society sells us didn't work for me, okay? My background is in retail management. I work for 2 very large companies that you guys have probably shopped at and enjoy shopping at, Target and Costco Wholesale, right? You guys ever shopped at either company?
Mm-hmm.
And so what happened to myself was while I was working at Costco Wholesale, I was promoted to supervisor twice and demoted twice. So imagine I do everything society tells us to do, and literally I get promoted, so imagine making $15 an hour part-time, 20 hours a week, being promoted to supervisor, making $30 an hour full-time, back down, back up, back down, right? It's not very promising for my future. Wouldn't you guys agree?
Right.
So that happened to me. I got my second demotion back in February of 2010. And I just so happened to get a phone call from my cousin, who was working for Wells Fargo at the time, that was making the transition to our firm, and called me on a Sunday asking me, hey, what do you got going on Tuesday night? I said, nothing. Why? We're on pizza, we're on beer, we're hanging out with the boys, like, what's the deal? Right, because we grew up and we had the same group of friends. And he said, I want you to come down to my office and take a look at what I got going on. Now, mind you, my cousin Jonathan is the 3rd oldest of all the kids. I'm the 5th oldest. So I'd already heard from the family what he was doing through my aunts and my mom. And I bluntly told him over the phone, what do you want with me? I work retail. I don't know nothing about personal finance. And he said, no, dude, you have customer service skills, you have management skills, you have leadership skills. Most of all, I just want you to come out and support. I was like, okay, what's the worst thing that could happen? Best decision of my life I made 8 years ago. So I've been with the firm 8 years. Kind of tell you, I transitioned from being part-time with the company, so I worked my full-time job, 5 o'clock in the morning till 2 o'clock in the afternoon. I was still going to school. I was a club president on campus. I was also doing marketing for my friend's beauty salon on top of being with World Financial Group part-time, roughly about 10 to 15 hours a week, right? I was able to get licensed my first 13 days with the company, and after 2 years, I got to a point where I was so busy helping people get ahead with their finances that my job got in the way. By the way, the most amount of money I've ever made in an entire year at Costco is 22 grand. One of my best months that you guys kind of know what's available out there. My best month in WFG has been almost $15,000 in a month.
Wow, that's a lot of money.
Yeah, and I saved a lot of it too. I actually saved roughly about 12,000 of it. I mean, how many people do you know that can save 12,000 a month?
Definitely not a lot.
Right, so those are the things that we'll kind of talk about, right? So what we're going to focus on today is a little bit more about the company, who we are, exactly what it is we do. Then we're going to go over 2 financial concepts. 1, how to make your money work harder for you. And then 2, how to help minimize you guys paying a lot of taxes when you retire. Sound good?
Yeah.
All right. So let's kind of talk about who we are. So World Financial Group, we're a financial services marketing company. So we're considered non-captive. We don't sell only our products or services. So think of us as like a Costco financial service. You notice they don't sell their own products, do they? They sell everybody else's stuff.
Yeah.
So that's us, but in financial services. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
Okay, and just like every successful company, there's a vision, a mission, and a system. So our vision is to help build the world's best and largest financial services organization. So the whole idea is to become a household name in financial services. Because you really think of it, if $250,000 plopped on your lap, Justin, who would you really turn to invest that money?
Probably a bank.
Right, but how many people actually trust a bank?
Not a lot.
Not a lot,
Don't get much
right?
out of it.
But in all reality, there's no real household name,
No.
right? But when we talk about, say, fast food, who's on every single street corner, Gina?
McDonald's,
Right. When it comes to coffee,
Starbucks,
when it comes to retail,
Walmart.
right. So that's our vision for the future, is to be on every single street corner, like a McDonald's, like a Starbucks, where people can literally walk through our doors and ask for help. Does that make sense? And then our mission is to help families achieve financial independence. So what we do is, you guys have heard the saying, the richer keep getting richer and the poor keep getting poorer. Okay. Why do you think that is?
Well, it's time the families who have money let their money work for them.
Okay. What else do you think? No other clue? Okay. Well, think of it this way. It's not just having the money, but it's really access to information. Would you guys agree?
True.
Okay, so the reason why the richer keep getting richer is because they ask more questions, they have access to information. So what we do as a company is we take what the rich and wealthy know about money, and we share it with everyday people like me and you. And you guys would agree that we're the ones that need the help the most when it comes to money, don't we?
Mm-hmm.
So that's our mission, is to help families. I'll give you my family as a perfect example. I'm Filipino and Chinese, so I'm born in a Roman Catholic household. And when I was born, my mom chose one of her younger brothers to be my godfather, or in Tagalog, we call them Nina, or in Spanish, that's Patrino. Correct? And she's like, I don't know.
I
So, as I was growing up, though, my mom also put her younger brother, my uncle, through PT school. He's a physical therapist now. Okay? And fast forward to when I'm about 13 and really starting to understand money, I would notice my aunt and my uncle and my 2 baby cousins go on vacation every single year without a hitch. And I could never really figure it out. And I understood, yeah, my uncle's a physical therapist. His wife is an RN, go figure, because most Filipinos are nurses, aren't they, Gina? From what
Yes,
your experience,
yes.
right? And so I knew they were making about 200 to 250 grand a year, but I could never really figure out how they went on vacation, not for a week, not for 2 weeks, not for 3 weeks, an entire month, without worrying about their bills. And then so fast forward to when I'm 26, I get introduced to WFG, and I sit down with my parents, explain everything that's going on. They said, you know what, you're right. We need more life insurance. We have some old 401ks we need to move. We need help saving a little bit more money. So they became clients. They understood it. And that's April of 2010. Okay. 2 months later, what month is it?
June.
Okay. What are kids typically doing?
Vacation.
Right. They're on vacation. So around that time, I come home from work at Costco Wholesale. I shower, I change, and I'm getting ready to leave my house to come to the office to make my phone calls. I get stopped by my mom. She says, Matt, come here for a second. What's up, Mom? She said, your uncle's going on vacation. I said, yeah, it's about that time of the year. So what's the big deal? She said, well, your uncle just informed me I'm a partial beneficiary in all his insurance and investments. I said, well, I would hope so. You're the one that put him through school, because if you didn't, he wouldn't have the lifestyle he has today. She said, that's not what bothers me. I said, so what is it? She said, everything he described to me that he has is everything that you do. I said, I know. I figured that out right when I got started with the company.
Mm-hmm.
What she said next, though, is what made me really decide this is what I was going to do the rest of my life. She said, I wish he would have told us this 30 years ago. We could be in the same financial position as them, but we're not. Okay? Or kind of put it plain and simple, you're in the medical field, Gina.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine you, your kids, Justin, your entire family, everybody you know is living with cancer. You have one uncle, one aunt, and 2 baby cousins that have always been healthy, has always had the cure of cancer, but they never bothered to tell you. How would you feel? Feel pretty crappy, right?
Yeah.
That's how I feel about this. It's, we have the cure to financial cancer. It's our job to spread that cure with as many people as possible. You guys follow?
Mhm.
So you guys would agree there's a need for what it is we do.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, of course, we have a system that has powerful solutions for building a very successful business. Can literally take anybody, no matter what their background is, whether it's a warehouse manager, whether it's in the medical field, LVN caretaker, somebody in martial arts or retail management, put you through our system, get you trained, get you licensed, and then you have two choices. You can either stay as an agent in someone else's office, or you can strive to become a broker and open up your own branch, right? Which do you think makes more money, though? Broker, right? So that's the career choice that an agent can have with us, right? Now let's talk about the backing of our company. Obviously, we've already talked about World Financial Group being a marketing company. Our main product provider that we've had a relationship with for almost 50 years now is Transamerica, right? Have you guys ever been to San Francisco before?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, have you guys have probably seen the really tall Transamerica building?
Yeah.
The big pointy building? Right. So that company's been around over 120 years now, right? They're the reason why we have the Golden Gate Bridge and how Walt Disney did Snow White and the Seven Dwarfs. So a lot of people actually don't know that, and that's the reason why we have those. Back in 2001, Aegon is our parent company, so a little background about them. They've been around over 200 years now, one of the world's largest financial investment and insurance companies, right? Trade in 50 different markets, and when they decide to break into the US market, they said, okay, instead of spending a lot of money bolstering our brand, who can we acquire and bolster their brand? Kind of like what happened to Washington Mutual. Who did they get acquired by or bought out by? JP Chase Morgan, right? So it just made their brand stronger. So what Aegon decided to do was to purchase Transamerica and WFG for $10 billion stocks and cash. Yeah, it's $10 billion with a B. That's a lot of money. And to put it plain and simple, just asset-wise, we have more money in the bank compared to Samsung, Google, and Apple all combined. Would you guys realize it's a pretty big and strong company?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, the great thing for us is because it's such a big, strong brand name, when they introduced this to me, I was like, okay, that's a company I'd feel very comfortable investing and saving my money with, but also a company I'd be very proud to represent out in the marketplace too, right? Now, the beautiful thing for us is we don't cold call, we don't have to door knock, we don't have to advertise. I mean, can you imagine your friend Anthony doing any of that? No. So that's the reason why we're together, is to give you guys exposure to what he's doing so that you guys can be a great referral source for him in the future, okay? Now, of course, we do have our home office in Duluth, Georgia. We have 400 back office employees that take care of all our administrative work. And a lot of people are starting to know who we are through sponsorship. So if you follow NASCAR, that's Trevor Main. If, you know, we just had the Winter Olympics, so you see the USA Luge team, you'll see our sponsorship with them. If you follow a lot of college football, basketball, you see that we sponsor the Pac-12 events. And if you follow the PGA Golf Tour, that's Zach Johnson on Transamerica. Plus, we have another 4 that are sponsored through WFG. So a lot of people are starting to know who we are through the sponsorships, but mainly how we expand our company and expand our business is through warm market referrals, through friends and family, right? And of course, like I mentioned before, we are a non-captive or marketing company, so these are some of the biggest names you've heard of in the industry. Companies like Transamerica, we just went over. Voya, a lot of people knew them as ING, right? A lot of people know who Nationwide is. What's their jingle?
Nationwide on your side.
Right. So you guys know that. You know how much they pay for a 60-second commercial?
A lot.
A lot. $10 million. If you watch the Super Bowl this year, they have a 60-second commercial. They paid $10 million for that 1 minute for you to know that jingle. And that's why they pay us a lot to market their products and services, right? And like I said, since we do different marketing, we do all forms of life insurance, whether it's term or permanent. We can help with, if you have, say, an old 401k or an old IRA that you're not happy with the performance, or you've severed employment, we can help you do rollovers. If you want to help start IRAs or additional retirement plan, your college plan, like for your kids, Gina, that's all stuff that we can help you with, right? Like if you go to the bank, like depending on who you bank with, most of the time they can't help you with a lot of this stuff. And by the way, they won't teach you about money either, right?
Right.
There's a story I heard from a very, very successful person in our company that used to be a plumber. And none of the advisors would talk to him until he was making almost $1 million a year in the company. And they saw how much money he had. They're like, Mr. Jaime, we'd like to talk to you. He's like, well, where were you when I only had $100 in my bank account? That's where we come into play, right? And like I said, we're gonna shift gears. We're gonna go into how you can, how your money can work harder for you, but also too, how to help minimize your taxes, right? And like I said before, you're more than welcome to ask as many questions as you like because it only helps Anthony, okay? The first concept we're gonna go over is something called the Rule 72 or compound interest. Have you guys ever heard of that before?
No.
No.
Okay. So basically what it is, it's a mathematical formula that was developed by Albert Einstein, pretty smart dude, right? Where you take the number 72 and divide into it the interest rate you're getting on your investment money will tell you how many years it takes for your money to double, right? So as an example, right, Gina, like who do you bank with right now?
Bank of America.
Bank of America, okay. I'm a Bank of America customer as well. So let's just say you have a $10,000 initial investment, okay? You go to Bank of America and you give them the $10,000 and say, okay, Gina, we're gonna give you 4%, okay? So if you buy the Rule 72, 72 divided by 4 equals how many years?
18.
Right. So it means every 18 years your money will double. So if I were to make you 29, even though I know you're younger than that, if you're 29 with that initial investment of $10,000, 18 years later you're 47, how much money do you have?
20.
Okay, another 18 years later you're 65, how much do you have?
40.
Okay. Let me ask you a serious question. At 65, having 40 grand in the bank, does that excite you at all?
Not
No.
really.
Right? It's not enough money.
No.
That's maybe 1 year. Okay? But now let's just say you're getting 8% on your money, right? So Justin, if you're getting 8% on your money, what's 72 divided by 8?
Looks like 9 to me.
Okay, so that means your money doubles every 9 years. So if you're 29, same amount of money you're starting with, 9 years later you're 38, how much money do you have?
20,
Okay, you're 47. Now how much do you have?
40,
Another 9 years,
80,
and then now you're 65.
160.
It's probably a little bit more exciting, right? But now what if you're getting 12%? What's 72 divided by 12?
6.
6. So that means your money doubles every 6 years. So in the same time frame, same initial $10,000 investment at 12%, by the time you're 65, it's $640,000. Very big difference, right? Now notice, we're not talking about earning 20, 30, 40, 50% returns. We're only talking about 6 to 12, right? Because one thing that the rich and wealthy understand is they need time on their side and a decent rate of return to build their wealth. The middle class thinks, oh, I have to earn 20, 30% every single year. You don't need to. It just needs to be steady, right? Now, let's just say, I don't know where to get that, say, 8 to 12%. When you take that 10 grand to Bank of America, do you really think they let it sit on their vault floor and collect us? No.
Probably not.
What do you think they're doing with it?
Using it for themselves?
Right, so they're leveraging it. They're leveraging your money to make them money, right? They're gonna charge, what's the average rate, interest rate on a credit card now? It's a lot.
10%, 15.
Some as high as 29.999. By the way, did you know if you look at the fine print, it says there's no limit to how much we can charge you in interest, but we limit it to 29.99%. Do the Rule 72 on that if you owe money. It means that balance doubles every 3 years. And people are like, whoa, right? But in this case, they're leveraging your money to make themselves money, and by the time you're 65, they've grown it to 640 grand. They said, okay, Gina, here's your 40,000. They're gonna keep the other 600 grand. They say, thank you for being a valued customer. Because in all reality, let's look at a lot of things. Have you ever seen a bank board up, close for shop?
No.
No. They usually get acquired by a bigger bank,
Yeah.
right? When you go to LA, San Diego, Las Vegas, do you see the bank of Justin Berber? No. Who do you see? You see Bank of America, JP Chase Morgan, right? Wells Fargo. So they understand the money game. And that's also what the rich and wealthy understand is they don't need a big rate of return. Just be very steady over time. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, since we're on the subject of money, what else did I say we were going to talk about?
Taxes?
Right. So, not a trick question, right? By the way, we're halfway done. Probably another 10 more minutes. Not a trick question. If I gave you choice on when to pay your taxes, would you want to pay them now, later, or never?
Never, obviously.
Okay. But where do most people put their money?
where they get taxed right now.
Right, but also where else?
Probably
bank.
401ks through
Right.
a job.
Right, exactly. So we're gonna go through each one so you understand how each one gets taxed. So the now bracket consists of things that you guys already have with the bank, right? You have your checking, your savings, your certificates of deposit or CDs, money markets, mutual funds, and stocks. Okay. By the way, do you guys have any money in like money markets, mutual funds, or stocks?
I don't right now, no.
Okay, okay. But let's just say you have $5,000 say, in your checking account, and you have one of those high yield checking accounts,
Yeah.
as an example. If you had $5,000 in there and it grew to $5,200, you have a gain of $200. Okay, what's going to happen now?
Well, you're getting taxed out based on
Right, on the $200.
Yeah.
So that $200 gain is taxed as annual income or ordinary income. Live in beautiful state of California, let's just say you're at a 30% tax bracket. 30% of $200 is $60, so you only net 140.
Okay.
So it's like you're taking 2 steps forward, 1 step back. You're putting the money away, it grows, but it shrinks because you have to keep paying tax on it every single year. It doesn't allow it to really compound over time and really grow, right? So people start getting smart. They're like, okay, so what can I do to help defer my taxes and pay my taxes later? Because that's what deferral means, to put it off for a later date. Okay, so back in the 70s and 80s, that's when things like the 401k started popping up. Because you guys notice, have you guys seen anybody with a pension lately?
Not really.
No, because it was too costly for companies to keep around to pay someone their 80-90% of their salary, and they're not even working for the company.
Yeah.
So that's why they got rid of them and started doing 401ks. Now, there's also 403Bs, or tax sheltered accounts. These are given to those in the medical field, LVNs, RNs, nonprofits, and also teachers, right? There's a traditional individual retirement account, or IRA, which you can get through any bank or broker-dealer just like us. There's also 457 plans, or also known as deferred comp. So if you're, say, county sheriff, police officer, that's what they typically have. And there's a thrift savings plan, or TSP. So if you know anybody in the military, Army, Navy, Coast Guard, that's what they have. So these all work the same. They just give them different names depending on what you do for work, right? But most people, the majority have a 401k, right? So we know a 401k is when can you actually access the money?
Not until you're older, 59 and a half.
Right. What happens if you touch the money before 59 and a half?
Definitely penalized.
What else?
Probably extra fees.
What else?
As much as I know right now.
Okay. So when you access your money before 59 and a half, you're right, you pay taxes and you're paying fees, but then you also pay penalties for accessing the money early, right? So you're potentially losing out on anywhere between, say, 25 to 45% of your money that you're taking out before 59 and a half, okay? Now, here's the $1,000,000 question. If you have $1 million saving in your 401k, you're 59 and a half, you're ready to retire, do you know what tax bracket you're gonna be in?
The higher tax bracket.
Okay, what makes you say that?
More money.
Okay, now what's the reason for it though?
You put a lot of money in, you're obviously going to get taxed on it.
Right.
Way later.
Okay, so you're right on point, but do you know what your tax bracket is going to be? Do you know that exact number? That's the $1 million question.
No idea.
Okay, so does it really make sense to put your money at an unknown tax rate at an unknown time, where you know you're going to pay taxes more?
No.
No, right? So to kind of put it plain and simple, let's just imagine we're in the farming business, right? We go down the street to the farmer's market, buy a bag of seeds. Each of those seeds costs a penny, so you essentially have a bag of penny seeds, correct? Okay. Gina, the government's going to give you 2 choices of when to pay your taxes. You can pay them now on the penny seed, or you can wait, plant your penny seeds, grow $1 million harvest, and pay your taxes then. When is it actually cheaper and smarter to pay your taxes? On the penny seed or on the $1 million harvest?
Penny seeds.
Right. Why?
It's cheaper.
Right. But you know what the government's doing is they're waiting until you have that $1 million harvest, and they're going to take 30 to 40 to 50% away of all your hard-earned money that you've worked hard for 30 years for. Isn't that pretty scary?
Yeah, it's not
The
fair.
government, yeah, the government's literally a 30 to 50% lien holder on all the money you've worked so hard for. Okay. Now, like you guys said, you'd rather not pay your taxes at all, right? So that's where we get into the exempt bracket. One of those accounts is a Roth IRA, right? Are you guys familiar with how a Roth IRA works?
No.
No? Justin? No? Okay. So a Roth IRA works very similar to a traditional IRA, but the only difference here is tax-free because you fund the plan with after-tax dollars. Does that make sense?
Mhm.
So that's why the government can't tax you again when you access the money. But you do have to wait until you're 59 and a half before you do access the money. Because remember what we talked about in a traditional IRA, what happens if you touch the money before 59 and a half?
Accumulation.
Right, taxes, penalties, and fees. Okay, so you want to avoid that. A few other things, a few other challenges. There's a contribution limit of $5,500 per year, and there's also income limitations. So as an example, Justin, if you're making $120,000 by yourself, or combined household income, you guys are making $185,000, you're disqualified from owning a Roth IRA because by government standards, you're rich, and you don't qualify for owning a Roth IRA. Perfect example, one of my clients called me not too long ago. Her name's Monique. She's a respiratory therapist. She called me because her husband had a change of jobs. And this is her last day at UCI Medical Center, and she's making the commute down to San Diego. She calls me and says, "Hey, Matt, how's everything going?" I'm like, "I'm doing great, Monique. How's everything? How's the family?" She's like, "We're doing well." I was like, "So what's going on?" She said, "Well, my husband just changed jobs." I'm like, "That's great. So I'm assuming he's making more money now." By the way, when I first met them, her husband was already making $250,000 a year. Okay? I was like, "That's great. So what's going on?" She said, "Well, he's making upwards of $400,000 now, $400,000 a year, and you're our money guy. We were thinking about opening up a Roth IRA." Now imagine, I'm sitting in my office, she's on the phone talking to me. I said, "I'm sorry, Monique, you guys can't open one." And she's like, "What are you talking about?" I said, "Your husband makes too much money alone. You guys don't qualify for a Roth IRA." And she literally loses it over the phone. Like, she's like, "What the are you talking about? We make all this money, and you're telling me we can't save it?" I'm like, "I'm sorry. That's just a tax law. I can't help you there." And then she's like, "So what other options do we have?" And I said, "Well, you have two options. One, you open up a separate account with me, or two, you contribute more to the plan you already have with me." She's like, "Okay, well, how much more money can I put into our current plan?" What her and her husband have with my company is something called an Index Universal Life, or IUL. Have you guys ever heard of that before? Okay.
No.
Don't feel bad. I'd never heard of this up until 8 years ago. But by the way, it's been around for almost 50 years. So it's not something typically new to the industry. Now,
That's when the 401ks came out as well, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, wonder why I haven't heard of it.
So an IUL works very similar like a Roth IRA, where money goes into the policy with after-tax dollars. So that's why it stays tax-free in the end. The only main difference here, though, is you don't have to wait until you're 59 and a half before you can actually access the money. So let's just say we help you start one today, and let's say 20, 30 years down the road, you guys start having additional kids, you want to help them go through school, maybe you have a family emergency, whatever the case may be. But we mainly talk about it as retirement. You can touch it before you're 59 and a half, not paying any penalties and not paying any taxes. Because you pay the taxes up front. Does that make sense?
Mm-hmm.
There's also a minimum guaranteed floor. So you guys remember what happened in 2008? What was happening to a lot of people?
Well, the market crashed.
Right.
Everyone's
So what?
losing money.
Right. People are losing money. Here, you have a minimum guaranteed floor, depending on how we set you up, of typically 0 to say 0.75%. So no matter how bad the market has a correction, you guarantee your principal, or you make very little while everybody else is losing money. Wouldn't that be pretty awesome? Okay. Now, there is a cap of how much you can earn. In this case, it's roughly about 15%. So think of it this way. The company protects your money, that guaranteed floor. If the market does any better than 15%, that's when the company makes its money back from protecting your money of at least that guaranteed floor. You guys follow?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Now, how it earns its interest is based on 3 stock market indices, which is your S&P 500, which is your Standard & Poor's 500. So this is the top 500 companies here in the U.S. Okay, so like let's just say company 498, 499, and 500 aren't performing. They kick them out and bring in 3 newer companies that are more stable, right? Also, your Eurostoxx 50, which is your European market, your top 50 companies there, and your Hang Seng, which is your Chinese market, top 20 companies there. So based on how well these 3 do, they give you the average of the 3. And by the way, this product has averaged roughly about 8 to 9% over the past 25 years. Okay? You know how much an IRA or 401k's averaged over the past 30 years? Net fees, 4%. Now imagine if you know anything about money too, what's the rate of inflation right now? 3%. So imagine if you're only earning 1% on your money, how long does it take for your money to double again?
72 years.
Okay, do you really want to wait that long?
No.
Right? Now, the reason why you get all these benefits is because it has a special tax law, IRC 7702. So that's just a tax law, just like how qualified plans work, 401k, that's just a tax law. That means that any money that grows inside of a life insurance policy grows tax deferred, and you can access it tax free. You guys are probably thinking right now, wait, you're talking to me about life insurance? Are you serious right now? Yeah, actually, the richest, wealthiest people in the world use life insurance as an investment, as well as to pass on wealth generation after generation after generation, right? And to kind of put it plain and simple, like I mentioned before, over the past 25 years, this product's done 9%. Over the past 20 years, it's done almost 9%, 8.65, right? And the reason why it does all that is, this is an article, a low publicized tax code that could help save you money. Most individuals are unaware of a low known tax code that's available to all investors regardless of their income or net worth, right? The internal code section for this tax break is IRC 7702. One of its components refers to the tax advantage growth of the cash value inside of a life insurance policy. If properly structured, I'm going to stop right there. What we mean by if properly structured, you have to work with an agent that knows how to structure it properly to have it funded properly so you take advantage of all the tax laws that are with it. Okay, there are a lot of other agents that sell IULs, but they sell it at the bare minimum and they sell the highest target possible so they can make a commission. I don't care about that. Okay, my job is to make sure that this plan works in your favor so you pass it on to the next generation. And while you're alive, you can use all the living benefits for retirement. Does that make sense? So that's what we train our agents on, how to structure it properly for you to take advantage of it, right? Not for our pockets, okay? An individual has the opportunity to both grow their investment money and access their money before or after age 59 and a half without ever paying tax on the gains. Pretty awesome, isn't it? Okay. Now that you know what's exactly available on the market, where do you see yourself saving money from this point forward for the long term?
Overall, the IUL.
Okay, great. I know that you guys were saying that you have money in 401ks and stuff like that. What I would like to do is just take the money that you guys are saving in the 401k, you say you're saving about $200 a month,
correct,
and just put it into a different vehicle. So I'm not taking any more money away from you, but let me ask you a question, Justin. Can you save any more money outside of that $200?
Probably a little bit more.
A little bit more? How much more? About
maybe
50 to 100 bucks?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's just say $250 a month as an example. Okay. You guys good? Good stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. So what you guys want to do from this point is, run numbers as soon as I can get on the internet. Okay. And it's going to calculate for me.
My Wi-Fi.
No, it's fine. Okay. Do you guys have any plans this weekend or actually tomorrow for 4th of July?
It's my daughter's birthday.
Your daughter's born on July 4th?
Mhm.
That is awesome.
Technically, it's her independent.
What are you guys going to do? Disneyland, SeaWorld, beach, barbecue? Barbecue? You guys know what you're going to barbecue already?
Not
No.
yet.
You guys don't have any particular favorites?
I don't know, I kind of like burgers.
Burgers?
The usual.
Burgers and hot dogs?
Yeah.
You guys got deep fryer?
No.
I bet the kids love fries, so.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Right? Okay.
Throw those in the oven.
Yeah, that's the easiest, simple way, just so it's not a mess, right? Okay. And then, that's how you spell your name, correct?
Correct.
Okay. When's your date of birth again, Justin?
August 18th. So 1891. 1991.
0808.
18.
Oh, 818,
Yes.
sorry. You said 1991? Oops. What is going on?
Must be one of those Apple days.
Yes, correct.
Okay. Do you have any health issues or anything like that? Taking any medication for anything?
No, nothing.
Okay. Have you had any surgeries in the past 10 years for anything?
No.
No? Okay. Do you have life insurance currently?
I currently do not. Just a retirement plan.
Just a retirement plan through work? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. By the way, what did you say your balance was in your 401k?
Around 200,000.
200,000. That's a lot for your age, man. What have you been doing?
I worked for partially for the federal.
Okay, so they gave you some bonuses and stuff like that.
Exactly.
Okay, okay. When's your next karate class?
Actually tomorrow.
You still teaching even on July 4th?
No.
Oh, okay.
Tomorrow was July 4th. I was thinking Wednesday, but Wednesday's July 4th. No, Thursday is my next day. I teach.
Okay. And how many students do you typically teach at one time?
At one time, it's normally one-on-ones until I get my group classes, and then that's usually between 10 and 20 people.
Okay. Hey, you take on that many people, huh?
Yeah, totally. I have a total of 22 students right now.
Okay.
That I teach mostly one-on-one.
Okay. And what's the age range?
Between 4 years old, and however age they want to start training.
Just like you, how you started at a later age.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. All right. Awesome. So what I've done is I've taken into account how much you're already saving into your 401k plus a little extra, right? So like I said, this is a life insurance policy first and foremost, right? You said you didn't have any, so you have a need for life insurance.
Mhm.
Because obviously you don't want to leave a bill for your family if something happens to you.
Of course not.
Right? So in this case, you'd have a $300,000 life insurance policy. So God forbid, knock on wood, I have wood around me.
There's no wood.
Yeah, there's no wood. There you go. Right? If something happened to you, bare minimum, you would pass on 300 grand to your family.
Yeah.
Okay? This illustration shows an average of about 7.75% over the next 30 years. Okay? A few numbers I like to go over is what we call your 7-pay premium. That means the most amount you can put in per year. Okay?
Okay.
So that's about 7 grand, so that's roughly about, give or take, say $600 a month.
Okay.
If you plan on saving more than $600 a month, essentially we need to look at a bigger life insurance policy that you can save more money into.
Okay.
Because think of it like, you drink Starbucks, you've ever had
Yeah.
Starbucks. You know, there's a tall, grande, venti, and trenta.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's only so much coffee that goes into a tall before it overflows,
Mhm.
correct? Okay, same thing in life insurance. If you put too much money in and it overflows, that extra money becomes taxable. That's why they put a lid on how much money goes in.
Gotcha.
So if you want to save more money, essentially we need to look at a bigger cup of coffee so you can put more money into it.
Okay.
Right? So here's the first year as an example, right? So you're going to save, say, $250 a month.
Yeah.
Okay? And as you make more money, you've heard the saying, as you make more money, you should be saving more money.
I have
correct?
heard it.
Okay? So your first year, it's $250 a month. Your second year, we have you save $350 a month. Your third year is $450 a month all the way up until you're 64. Because by the time you're 65, you should be living off your assets.
Yes.
Correct? So if you look within your first 10 years, you put in 45,000, there's 46,000 that's grown in there, you only have access to 40,000.
Okay.
So just like a 401k plan, they don't tell you, okay, you can access it tomorrow.
Mm-hmm.
There's basically a waiting period before you can really touch the money.
Yes.
Right? But at this point, if you notice, you're covered for 300,000, but if something happens to you, your family inherits not only the 300 grand you're covered for, but also the other 46,555 that you've accumulated over time.
Okay.
Okay? Now, if you look at year 20, you're 46, you've put in 104,000, now you pretty much have full access, which is almost 180,000. But you notice you've quadrupled the money in 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
And if you follow this schedule all the way up until you're 65, you'd have roughly almost $800,000 all tax-free for retirement. That's equivalent to somebody having roughly about 1.4, maybe 1.5 million in a 401k.
Okay.
Okay. Who do you know that's got, say, 800 grand all tax-free, ready to go for retirement?
Not a lot.
Not a lot. Okay.
Yeah.
How would you like to be the first?
Definitely sounds good to me.
Okay, so what I need from you is I need your driver's license, social security number, your doctor's info, and your bank account information. Can you go get that for me?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Started.
Okay. Here's the tip I learned from Eric Olson at a very young age in the business. Assume they want it. Don't ask. Assume they want it.
Well, let's just say I have to talk to my wife a little bit more about it.
Okay, what's the biggest concern? Is it the company? Is it the product? Or is it the money?
It's not the product, it's more of money management. We
Okay.
have to see where we have to figure out what we can put more money towards.
Okay. Well, just like you mentioned earlier, you said you could save an extra $50.
An extra 50, not much, but that 50 could go towards something else as well.
Okay, so probably $200 would probably be a better fit.
Okay.
Okay. Like, a lot of people, they just panic.
That's because they're already
Yeah.
putting $200 in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Remember, what did I say at the beginning? I said, I'm not going to take any more money away from you. Let's just show it to you in a different vehicle. So I'm not taking any money away from you. Does that make sense? And you should literally just be able to wrap up the app that way. And then you just do the same thing for the wife, right? In the interest of time, which I'm ending actually on good time already, then in the interest of time, then I would do the same thing for the wife. Okay? And also too, by the way, depending on if they also have the discretionary income, you want to do a full care package. So you want to look at structuring an IUL so they have enough space to overfund it. You want to make sure that they have 10 times their annual income in life insurance coverage. So it's, let's just say Justin's say making 50 grand a year, what's 10 times his annual income? Okay, so I probably wouldn't do 300,000 inside of an IUL. I'd probably do more of like 200, 250, and then give him another 250 in a term, so he's properly covered. And also throw in an Everest. An Everest is like 15, 20 bucks, and that's the bridge money. So if something happens to him right away, expenses get paid, and then they wait for the rest of the life insurance and all the other investments to come in. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now, by the way, if you're doing it properly, that's 6 apps just between husband and wife. And then Gina has her 3 children. That's 3 other IULs. 9 apps in one house. Probably writing, I don't know, give or take 7,000 or 8,000 points. Okay? If you're saying SMD, you're writing 8,000 points, an 80% contract, that's $6,400 in that one appointment. Take it to the bank, and how likely are they to charge back on their policies? Not likely, because that's why you sit with people in the market, right? I'm a perfect example. When I was, Missy remembers when I first got started, single, not married, didn't own a home, didn't have any kids, right? And then up until 3 years ago when I met my wife, everything just changed. I'm sitting down with a lot more people who are married, homeowners, kids, that I've attracted into my business. And because people like Gina have financial responsibility, she values the information more. Not to say that people are single, that they don't understand it. Like when I first got started, I saw what this company was all about. Just like what Eduardo saw when he first got started. I saw the value, right? And that's the difference we make in people's lives. Now imagine something happens to Justin at this point. He's got $1.1 million to pass on to his family. $1.1 million. You talk about building your legacy, or like you guys have heard me talk about the book, you know, The Subtle Art of Not Giving Up. He talks about, Mark Manson talks about your immortal project. What does your legacy look like? You know, is your family going to be talking about you 2, 3, 4, 5 generations from now? Are they going to be saying, yeah, you know, my Tia Jenny, she left our family $2 million. I had money to go to college. I had money to buy a car.
Yeah.
Right? And then what if her grandchildren said, because of my Tia, that's the reason why I have the life I have today.
Yeah.
By the way, just imagine, that's just on the product side. Now talk about building a business in WFG, where you get to a point like G makes 99% of his income is passive because he's built a business. Overrides all of us. Passive income that he can pass on to his 2 kids. And if structured properly, he can pass it on another 2, 3, 4, 5 generations.
Now, I've got a question about another client. So let's just say if you're sitting down with someone, like I read this story, like Jackie Chan wrote an article and told people on social media that he's not going to leave a single dime for his future kid, right?
That's all personal preference.
Because how would you deal with someone like that? Like, I don't want to leave anything for them. If
Okay.
I can do it, then they can do it too, right?
Well, not necessarily, because have you taught them what you've done with your money?
With my own money?
Yes. More likely not.
No.
So what makes you think they're going to do it?
True.
It's their problem.
Yeah. Just walk away from that pretty much.
Right.
Yeah.
Because here's the thing, you know what very rich and successful people do, how they pass on wealth after generation? They teach their kids about money.
Gotcha.
Okay? Like you want to teach your kids about money, right? How many of you guys got kids? Okay. You want to teach your kids about taxes? Give them 2 scoops of ice cream, right? You guys have heard this before? Give them 2 scoops of ice cream, eat 1 scoop.
Boom.
That's how taxes work, Miho. Right? That's how taxes work, seriously. Right? Okay?
Just saying that to avoid taxes.
But now here's the thing is, that's the reason why, that's the reason why it's important that you understand how money works, how it grows, and how it gets taxed. Right? Because that's how you keep more of your wealth.
Would you use that for more of a one-on-one?
Depends.
Just say you want to teach your family, or you want to teach other people about how to save and make more money and educate just like this.
Right. So now, let's say I made you a client,
Yeah.
right? I'll show you, okay, Justin, let me explain to you how much money I'm going to be making on this. This is what G and Angelica do. They literally show them how much they're going to make at the appointment, right? So your target is, say, $1,800, 1,800 points. I'm a marketing director at 62%, right?
Mm-hmm.
So what is that? Roughly almost, what, give or take, say, almost 900, a little over 900 bucks, maybe about 1,000, okay? So imagine we've been here about 45 minutes and helping you guys achieve some of your financial goals. I'll be compensated $1,000.
And that's how you would walk into someone who also wants to make more money, or
Yeah, I tell them,
change
hey,
careers.
so then I say, okay, you guys said that you want to help people and make more money. What do you guys got going on Tuesday or Saturday?
Okay.
And then you invite them to a BPM, which, by the way, I take full responsibility for. I'm not doing that enough. Because if I was doing that a lot more, I'd have a much bigger team.
All of us.
Yeah, all of us would.
Turn
You would
that
tell
KTP
them that in
into
the
a
first
one-on-one
appointment?
Not necessarily. It depends on kind of where it goes.
Yeah.
And then,
Because I
but
feel
also
like
too.
that can backfire. on
Yeah,
you.
exactly.
Yes.
So you kind of have to, that's why when you're building rapport with the people you're sitting down with, you can kind of figure out what their hot buttons are that you can get them to a BPM. You know, in the case they said, you guys would like to make more money, how much value did you guys get out of this?
A lot of value.
A lot. Who do you know that could benefit from this?
I know a couple friends.
Okay, so instead of giving me the referrals or giving Anthony the referrals, why don't we get you guys paid? What do you guys got going on Saturday?
Got time.
Okay, are you guys free Saturday morning between 9 and 11?
Yeah.
Okay, great. So we want to make sure, we'll put you guys on our guest list. Okay, our office coordinator, Melissa, will make sure to give you guys a phone call just to reconfirm that we do have seats saved for you. You guys can carpool with Anthony to our corporate overview. And a lot of stuff you're going to see will reaffirm everything that we've gone over, but also to give you a chance to see our company, our operation, how we're able to grow and expand the company through warm marketing referrals just like you guys. Does that sound fair?
Yeah.
Okay, done.
Awesome. I have a quick question.
Yes.
You're pretty good at reading body language, so when you're sitting down with a couple and you can kind of sense that one is gung-ho for it and the other one's skeptical, do you kind of ignore the skepticism and just
Oh, no,
keep
I can
going?
address it. Because sometimes you'll run into people that are just like this. right? And you guys have seen people like this,
Oh, yeah.
right? Halfway through my presentation, close to the end, they're like, okay, so how do I get that, right? But here's the thing, that's why I said it's asking a lot of questions. You guys know, how many real statements did I really make? Not very many. I asked a lot of questions, right? I had to kind of give a condensed version, but usually at the very beginning, I like to ask, okay, how much do you guys understand about money on a scale of 1 to 10? Right? And they'll say, well, we're like a 5 or a 6. Because they're going to look at each other, right? And they're like, yeah, like a 5 or a 6. I was like, okay, my job today is to turn that 5 or a 6 into probably about a 7, maybe an 8. Right? So you guys are going to walk away learning about money. Okay. Now, with that being said, you guys have an established savings budget already. They'll say yes or no. Then I'll ask them, okay, where are you saving your money? You say, okay, we save an X amount into a savings account, and we save X amount into a 401k. That's how I'll get the dollar commitment right then and there. But I'll also ask, how well do you understand your 401k, or your IRA, your deferred comp, your CalPERS, your CalSERS, your TSA, TSP, 403b? And then they'll describe it to me.
But the one, let's say that she was the one who was holding her hand, we would address her. We would try to build that rapport with her and try to see where she's at. And then touch on the hot buttons as far as like the recruiting side. She likes to help people, he likes to teach.
Right.
So we'll touch on those hot buttons later on. So those are, as a reminder
Yeah.
as well.
Those are your hot buttons to get them in the office, right? And especially because if they say, depending on what they say, like, I would like to have more flexibility of my schedule, I use that as part, like, especially when I tell my story. You guys heard my story, right? And especially now, because my wife's pregnant with our first, I haven't missed one doctor's appointment because of WFG. How many of you guys know somebody that's ever complained that their spouse couldn't be at a doctor's appointment? How would you like to prevent that, and that you could be at every single doctor's appointment with your spouse? It's another recruiting tool right there, right? So it's every little thing that you guys can do to build the relationship and ultimately bring the wall down so that you can turn them into your clients or turn them into your recruit and expand your business.
Is there like a sheet of like questions of intent to ask, or like?
You know what?
Sure.
There is the trust, respect, customize, which is a good start. I don't have that with me, but that's a good start, especially with the trainee. I mean, I've been doing it long enough that it's yeah, I can put it on the WeChat. But there is a format I've seen, like when I first got recruited into the business, somebody actually had typed out Nick's KTV. I actually have it. Which is crazy.
You still have it?
I still have it. Like, you guys realize, I've been in the business long enough, we used to do it on a yellow pad. Like, we had to memorize, there was no iPads, there was no tablets. I got recruited when we're doing it on a yellow pad, writing out the Rule of 72, the 3 tax boxes, the differences in life insurance, the tax problem.
Matt and Gina have the 401k, that life magazine.
I still have the original one. Nick closed me.
We used to use, like a little presentation with sleeves and the whole deal. Right? That's how long I've been in the business. Right? But from that, when they said, okay, we can do e-app, that's when Nick and I said, okay, we gotta get everything on an iPad. And for you guys, this is what's gonna make your business easier and duplicatable. Okay, right now is the best time to open up the floor. Who else has questions, or maybe you have an objection you've gotten out in the field? This is the best time to ask. Asela, I saw your hand up.
I just have wondering, like, if it's just a young couple, you already sold them an IUL. How were you at the Everest?
Oh, that's easy. So, like, if I was sitting down with you, as an example, okay. I would take into account how much you're saving into your IUL. I would take a little bit off so I can do an Everest. So I would propose, I'm going to let you know, Asela, one thing I like to do is make sure we do a care package. So making sure you're properly covered, right? Go through that. Explain how an Everest works. So you get guaranteed death benefit, pays out in 48 hours, da-da-da-da-da. It's an easy application. I usually just transpose information on the IUL onto that. I just have the client just sign on the conditional receipt and the actual application, and just transpose everything else over. Or, I mean, because it's e-app, you just submit it online. You already have the signatures already saved. Because by insurance law, you have to keep it on file for 5 years, right? So depending on, the situation, you can bring it up different ways. And also too, guys, the reason why you want to be great out in the field, right? I didn't get to share this story earlier in pregame. When you get really, really good out in the field and you know your stuff, not only you have to be great at recruiting, because that's what's going to bring in more top 25s, more agents, building a bigger base shop, but also you have more people out in the field. Okay? And when you know your stuff, it leads to more money. G has a saying, you have to have a nose for money. Okay, I've been doing a lot of appointments. I've done probably about 15 appointments from last Monday to tonight. I did 4 today alone. From 2 of those appointments, by the way, because I'm great at asking questions, potentially $2.75 million to roll over. Okay, can I sell you guys a dream just a little bit? If I were to roll over $2.75 million, I would qualify for Hawaii, I would qualify for the Italy trip, and I would make roughly about $75,000 helping 2 clients.
His ring.
And I'd have my ring in the base shop.
Yeah.
In the base shop, have my ring.
Get it.
Right? But now here's the thing. It's any of you guys can do that too.
Yeah.
If a guy that didn't finish college, that worked retail, didn't know anything about financial services, can do something like this and go after my ring in the base shop or even as an SMD, you guys can do it too.
You just got to get good. You just got to get on enough appointments and learn the presentation.
You guys have to remember, I have roughly probably about 400 to 500 clients. It's not as much as Nick. Nick's got a lot more than I do. But just imagine, I've been on hundreds, if not maybe 2,000 appointments that I just mastered our craft. Okay?
Just time.
Yeah, it's just time. A lot of people are like, oh my God, Matt knows so much. No, I've just been out in the field a lot more. You guys got to realize, when I was brand new in the business, I did 15 practice presentations with Nick, and when I wasn't at my job or at school, I did nothing but WFG. Nothing but WFG. I was single, not married, none of the responsibilities, so what reason do I have to stay at home on my butt? Nothing. I was doing appointments 7 days a week. I was prospecting 7 days a week when I was part-time. So if you work a traditional 9 to 5, 5 to 2, when you're off of work, you should be out talking to people. Come in the office, there's somebody typically here where you can come in, make your phone calls. By the way, there are people full-time that can help do one-on-ones. Right? Thomas and Janine are here full-time. I'm here full-time. Nick's here full-time. Reggie's here full-time. Right? Cynthia can be here. Eduardo can be here. Right?
Yeah.
The only way this office blows up is more of you guys that are part-time are in here putting in the work. Now, by the way, if you want to go out prospecting because you don't have a very large warm market, call one of us, we'll go out. We have no problem. Like, there have been stories, Nick has locked me out of his car to get a number. He's locked me out of his Range Rover. Seriously. He locked me out of his car. That was after he had like the 7 Series on, well, no, G had the spinners, but that's besides the point, right? But imagine, it's like the only way you're going to go out and get more numbers, go out with somebody if you can.
Do you also find that during a KTP that, because in the beginning we're learning that less is more. Sometimes when you talk too much it ends up being verbal diarrhea and then you just throw the whole.
That's why I try and keep it very simple.
So during the KTP, is that kind of the same thing? Because you can turn 45 minutes into 2 hours with somebody asking questions, but then they start to change their mind.
Right, so now how you have to pre-frame it, right, is that's why at the beginning I say ask as many questions as you want, because that's a mental note. I'm telling them that I have every single answer. Because by the way, guys, being out in the field, I say that at the very beginning, I probably get maybe 2, maybe 3 objections.
Yeah.
Right, Eddie?
Yeah.
Cynthia?
Yes.
That's my mental note to them. I know what I'm doing. I'm an expert. I'm a professional. So they're only going to ask me maybe 2, maybe 3 objections.
By the way, you put that out there too, and the funny thing is that's why most people don't go on appointments, because they're afraid of those questions. But yet you tell them that, hey, I can answer anything, and then they don't even know.
You hardly get any
Yeah,
objections.
you know, to be honest, I can't remember the last time someone said, well, why should I do an IUL versus my 401k? Or why I should do an IUL versus my IRA?
The information.
Right there.
It's obvious.
Yeah, to be honest, I can't remember probably the last, I'd probably say 2 or 3 years that I've gotten, okay, well, you know, I'd rather do my 401k versus
It's a
an IUL.
no-brainer.
It's a no-brainer. And by the way, even if they said, well, you know what, I really believe in my 401k, and even after we do the whole penny seed story,
My company matches.
yeah, company matches, which is free money, I don't argue,
Yeah.
right? Then you have this in your arsenal, right? One of the things I was talking to Fareed the other day, because she was like, I have this one client, hard-headed. I was like, did you use the GE proxy statement? She's like, is that in our KTP? I said, yes. Okay, everybody knows who GE is, right? General Electric.
Yes.
Okay, this is the summary of their compensation table. This shows Jeff Immelt, who is a resigned CEO now, right? I have to update this. His salary was $17 million for running a company, the top leadership, right? Because remember, the highest paid profession in the world is what? Leadership. No matter it's financial services, Herbalife, Tupperware, Kirby, Cutco, Thigh Cream, Mary Kay, doesn't matter. It's leadership. But now, let's look at, okay, he put in $9,200 into a company 401k plan because he wants his employees to do it because a company gets a tax write-off, don't they?
Yes.
But here's a bigger question. Does a company ever retire?
No.
Who does? The employee. So they're the ones that got to pay the taxes. But why is it that a CEO puts in almost $500,000 into a life insurance policy? So you're telling me you're smarter than a CEO making $20 million a year. I literally say that. They're like, well, no. I was like, so wouldn't you agree that the smarter thing to do with your money is to put it in the life insurance policy? They're like, yeah. Okay, great. So what I need from you, right?
Is their license.
You need your driver's license, social security number, doctor's info, and your bank account information. Go ahead, Marky.
How do you structure an IUL properly so that it doesn't like implode?
Well, I have to take into account how much money they're saving, right? So if they say, as an example, the couple is, let's just say husband and wife, let's just say husband's 32, wife is 30. The husband can save, say, $400 a month. The wife can save, probably say $300 a month, okay? From that 400, I have to take into account, I'd probably do roughly, say, about 250, 275, maybe 300 into an IUL. I probably wouldn't do like a $400,000 or $500,000 IUL because the cost of insurance would be too much. Because the idea is you want to overfund it at a lower cost of insurance so the cash value really builds. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And then I would do, say, maybe if he's making, say, 80 grand a year, whatever the case may be, I'd probably do like 300-400 in a term for 30 years, which will only come out to like $30 a month.
So that's
And then I would
what
do an Everest, right? Then I would do an Everest, say, for 10 grand for, say, $25 a month. Or as an example, I'm 34, I have a $20,000 Everest, I'm only paying $33 for a month.
Matt, tell me about Everest. I want one. Like, why don't I have that?
Like I have a term, I have an IUL, my daughter has IUL.
Right, you want the full care package. Remember, Everest is the bridge money. It can pay out without a death certificate, 48 hours, it goes straight to the funeral home. Anything that's left over goes out to your beneficiaries while the rest of the other life insurance comes in. Because it still takes about 2 weeks to get the rest of the life insurance because they need to wait for the autopsy, death certificate, all that other stuff. You guys follow? So that's why you want to take into account if he says he can save 400, I already know because I've been out in the field enough, and Everest will probably cost him, say, 25 bucks. A term for, say, 400 grand will probably be another $25, $30, right? So that's already $50 there. And if he can save, say, 400, the other 350 I just put in an IUL.
When do you bring up the living benefit term?
I actually bring it up when I'm talking about the full care package. You notice some of the things I would say, you notice people are living a lot longer, aren't they? So what are you doing to protect yourself from living a lot longer and you have unexpected medical expenses? Right? And and especially if you're sitting down with somebody, say between 40 and 60, that'll really hit home. Because a lot of those people, that's what they call sandwich generation. They're taking care of parents as well as they're taking care of their kids. So they're the sandwich generation. So they're seeing, okay, my parents are spending all this money on a caregiver, assisted living, nursing home, right? And then sometimes they're also contributing. Like we have a couple of our friends, right, going through that right now. And that's why I was telling them, it's like, you're part of that sandwich generation. That's why for you it makes so much sense to talk about IUL, LTC, and term with living benefits, right? So there are different ways you can bring it up. It all depends on who you're sitting down with. Like you're sitting down with somebody between say 25 and 35, it might not be a concern, but I will tell you right now from my own personal experience, you sit down with anybody between 40 and 60, that is a concern.
And do you ever tell the story of Elizabeth's son?
Yeah. So if you guys ever heard Elizabeth's story, she got her ex-husband in the business. And he qualified for I think it's a $400,000 term. He qualified for a $400,000 term, preferred elite, if I remember correctly.
Yes, preferred elite.
Preferred elite, completely healthy. 2 years later, diagnosed with leukemia.
They were able to access $200,000, that many.
And so what she...
No, it was a $600,000.
Yeah, you're right. $600,000. They accessed $400,000.
$400,000 out. She bought a new house and moved him in. That was her ex-husband, but the father of her daughter. So she got a bigger place, moved him in. She was able to quit her job, go full time to care for him. So, you know, when you have an IUL, that's a death benefit. So after you die, that's when it comes into effect. This, they were able to
Right.
access.
By the way, Albert was taking a pill that cost $500 a month that was keeping him alive.
He's in remission now, by the way, everyone.
Yeah.
But he
So talk about-
who knows what would have happened. He was able to get his chemo and everything else to do that $400,000. Wow.
So you guys talk about why it's so great to be with WFG. That's why all these little rinky-dink companies like Primerica, Freedom Equity Group, FEG, PFA, which is Premier Financial Alliance, or PHP, they ain't got nothing on us. They talk, oh, we do term with living benefit. We've been doing that for years. What has it been, like 5-6 years now? We've been doing it for years already. By the way, we got the best term with living benefits. Nobody's even close.
And no one has an FFIUL, only Transamerica for WFG agents.
Right.
What does FF stand for?
Financial Foundation. Okay? You guys have to realize we have it so good. Like I got a phone call from one of my old clients who charged back on his policy that got recruited in WFG on the green side, and his SMD, and he took his entire team over to PFA. And he called me Sunday. And I literally I was like, hey, what's going on, Solomon? He's like, hey, quick question, have you ever heard of PFA? I was like, yeah, I've heard of them. Why? He's like, well, you know, I don't know if you talked to Belinda, you know, I got recruited on the green side. I was like, yeah, she told me. And we made the move over to PFA. I'm like, you guys all made the move, or did you even do the research? Did you even think about it? He's like, no, I just kind of followed everybody else. And I was like, do you realize a person that leads your side of the company is making $20 million a year? And he's like, no, I didn't know that. If you guys know that, Swan Win. Making $20 million a year. So for me, and I told him this over the phone, I was like, if you ask me, that makes me question the ethical values and the integrity of your senior marketing director. Because they're trying to sell him on, you're going to get a higher contract, which by the way is false, because I have the comp plan, which is false. They don't even have super base bonus pools. They don't have super team bonus pools. They don't have the quarterly base shop bonus pools. By the way, you can't even build a financial practice. And he's like, what do you mean? I was like, you're only building an insurance practice.
No.
That is it. You're not building a true financial practice where you can do securities and do more advanced investments for the
Just
future.
mutual funds, money markets, different.
So I'm like, really, you should really think about your decision, because I will tell you right now, you'll make more money in WFG than you ever will in any of those companies. By the way, your company is so small that it's only the size of one team in WFG. PFA, FEG guys, you guys got to realize it's only like 2,500, 3,000 people. That's like G's hierarchy. That's their entire company.
Yeah.
By the way, nobody, any of those companies are making $1 million a year, let alone even $500,000.
I come in there like once or twice a
Not even close. That's why it's so good in WFG.
Yeah.
You guys just gotta go out and just change a bunch of people's lives and you'll really see it.
Yeah.
Just like some of us have, like myself, Reggie, Anthony. Just go out in the field and change people's lives. That's what you're here for. Change people's lives, and yeah, you're gonna make a lot of money in the process, right?
And be
But-
able to help a lot of people.
Yeah, exactly. Other than that, guys, I hope you guys got a lot of value tonight. Appreciate
Thank you,
it.
Matt.